Hi, everyone. Hello, my name is Carl. How are you? This is a webinar from TEFL.org. Thank you very much for joining us on this Friday afternoon. I would love to know who is out there, who is listening to us. So if you could possibly, please, write your name and where you're from in the world, wherever you're watching this from, just so I know you're there. That would be lovely to hear. And also, if you have any questions as I talk, please ask them straight away. And if I've got a chance, I'll jump in and answer your question. Or if I know I'm going to answer it in a bit, then I will wait for it a little bit before I answer it. Okay, and first thing I've got to say is I know that there's some mess down here, and that is there on purpose. Okay, so please don't be sitting there going, oh, look how messy his room is. Oh, dear, because that is there for a reason, and I will explain that in a minute. And look, everyone's saying hello now. Debbie, hello. You're in Alicante, you lucky thing. I wish I was in Alicante. I do a lot of work in Spain, which has been cancelled at the moment. Hello, Julia. Hi, Steffi, Julie, Richard. Hi, Richard. Cardiff. I worked in Cardiff at a language school for a bit, Richard. Alpha and Omega College. I don't know if it's still there. It was a long time ago. So please just keep saying hello, saying where you're from, and please ask any questions. So let me tell you a bit about me. I'm Carl, and I am the tutor who does the practical courses for TEFL.org in Belfast in Northern Ireland, where I live at the moment. That's not my full-time job. I also do lots of different things within the TEFL industry. I work as an examiner for some important and famous exams that are used in TEFL. Famous is probably the wrong word there. I don't know why I said that, but in exams that students take. I also do some teacher training, and I also teach online from my own teaching business, from my own website. Great, everyone's saying hello. Hi, Haley Barley. Okay, I think that beats Alicante. Morag, hello. Sanaz, Tunde, Lucy, Sanaz again. Bambi, hello. So thank you. Please keep those hellos coming in. So yes, I do that. And in the past, before I set myself up as an independent TEFL practitioner, that sounds very official, I worked for many language schools around the world, and I also managed some language schools. And that is why I have been chosen by who, I'm not quite sure, but by someone, to talk about this webinar, which is about interviews. So please, if you have any questions about interviews, please let me know, because I have interviewed quite a few TEFL teachers down the years, and I can hopefully share my wisdom upon that. So basically, what we're going to talk about is in 3 stages: what to do before the interview, what to do during the interview, and what to do after the interview. Okay, so there are 2 types of jobs at the moment, really broadly speaking, in the EFL industry. There are online jobs, and there are jobs in a college or in a language school or in a high school or some sort of physical building. Okay. And obviously at the moment we have a virus in the world, and this has meant things are changing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about online interviews and a bit about practical interviews. Okay. Hello, everyone that keeps saying hello. I really enjoy seeing where everyone's from. Okay. The thing that I would say is, if you are doing this course because one day you want to go work in a school, you will probably still have an online interview before you go and work for that school. So you've got to be prepared. Even if you're going to go work in a college or a school somewhere in the world, you're going to have an online interview. If you're going to go work for a company, for an online teaching company, you're going to have an interview like this through video as well. So it's kind of similar. Now, I have interviewed people. For example, I managed a school in Azerbaijan, and I interviewed some people to come from the UK to come and work at the school that I worked for in Azerbaijan. And I did a Skype interview with them. And one of the issues that I have had when I've been trying to interview people is that people are not set up technologically for the interview. Okay. So the very, very first thing you have to do is be ready for the interview. I know that sounds crazy, but seriously, people do not get themselves technologically set up in advance of the interview sometimes. So don't be that person. If the interview is going to be on Skype, which is the most common way of doing it, Zoom, I guess now, but Skype tends to be the most common way. If the interview is going to be on Skype, make sure you do a test call 10 to 15 minutes before your interview slot. Make sure your video is correct. Okay. Now, the other thing that I've noticed of something bad that people have done is they have a messy room behind them. Okay. When they do this, or believe it or not, this happens all the time. There's a messy room like this. That's why I've left this like this here. Sounds simple, but take a few minutes to tidy up your room. Maybe put a poster behind you. Can you get some books? Make it look professional behind you, because people don't do that. Okay. Don't be that person. Right. Now, test the lighting. Okay. I'm by a window here. There's some light coming in here, but maybe you're going to do the interview at night. Best thing to do is to have some sort of light in front of you. I can't quite show you. There you go. Something like this, which you sort of shine up and let it reflect off a surface onto you. Don't shine it directly in your face like a torch. Try and get it up and come down. It looks better. It makes you look more professional. It makes the person, the recruiter, think that you have put in some effort for this interview. Okay. Facebook is your friend. Now, any job, not just TEFL jobs, any job, you do some sort of research beforehand. Okay. And if you're going to do for an online company, have a look at some Facebook groups where people are talking about the online company. There will be some comments in there telling you about that company. Use Google, do some research. Now, because one of the most common questions you'll be asked is, what do you know about our company? What do you know about our students? Tell me about the students that you will be teaching for my company, that kind of thing. Do some research. Okay. Do some absolute research. Look online, look on Facebook, look on websites, get some research about it. Okay. Stephen, you are correct. A tidy room does not make for a good teacher. That is true. I agree with you. You know, just like tidy handwriting does not make a good teacher. However, if you're recruiting and you've got two people and they've both got the same level of qualifications, and you're tossing a coin as to whether to take the person or the other person, you would take the person with the tidy room. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that. But that's just the way it is in the world. Okay. I'm sorry, but I do agree with you that not necessarily a tidy room makes a tidy teacher. Fine. Okay. Obviously think of some questions you're going to be asked, and I'm going to talk about the questions in a couple of minutes. Okay. Please, if you've had some experience of being interviewed for TEFL jobs, please put it in the chat. Let's see if we've got similar ideas about it all. Okay. Yeah. First impressions, Julia. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So if you can practice with someone, that's a good idea, but obviously it's a bit difficult. But I would say just make sure you are sort of well prepared for the interview in terms of the technological way of things. Okay, that's just the same all round. Okay, right. So then you've got the interview time. Okay, now how long does the interview take? I get asked that quite a bit. I've had TEFL interviews that can take up to 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, I've also had TEFL interviews that can take 10 minutes. And the reason being is because some companies will ask you to do a demo lesson during the interview. And if you have to do that, then it's going to take a bit of time. It's probably going to take you somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes to do that one. So that's why the interview can take a long time. So make sure you've got a glass of water, because you're probably going to be doing a drink. You're going to need a drink or something if you're going to be talking a bit. Okay. So get yourself ready for that. And that's how long it takes. Now, let's talk about if you have to do a demo lesson. Okay. Right. If you have to do a demo lesson, hopefully the recruiter will give you some information. Okay. So they will say, right, okay, here is a lesson plan. Let's see if you can follow this lesson plan. Okay. Or they might say, can you teach a lesson that you've created yourself? Now, if you have to do one that you've created yourself, I would really recommend you do the one that you do in your training. Okay, because that's probably been checked by, well, hopefully, if it's a good TEFL company that you've been with, they will have checked it to make sure that it's a good lesson. And then you might need to adapt that lesson that you've created for the time. And the recruiters will tell you in advance how long it's going to be. Okay. On our TEFL.org website, there is a great link to a demo lesson that one of the really qualified trainers that we have has done. Okay. Really worth having a look at that and seeing what you can do. Also, YouTube is full of people who have done demo lessons. Now, I can't vouch for the quality on those. Okay. Some might be good, some might be bad. Okay. So just be wary if someone's done a demo lesson for a specific company and then underneath there's maybe some sort of link as to like, click on this link and it will help you, something like that, because there might be a little bit of cash involved with something like that. Okay. Just be a bit wary, be a bit safe. Okay. So the demo lesson can range anything from 15 to 30 minutes. Okay. I love those questions. I'm going to come to those questions just after I've talked about the demo lesson. Okay. I promise you I'm going to come to those. Okay. The demo lesson can take 15 to 30 minutes. Okay. What do I, as a recruiter, look for? Okay. I'm just going to look down to my notes. Right. The first thing I look for is their personality. I look for how confident though that person looks. Okay. Obviously, interviews are a stressful thing, and recruiters do take that into acknowledgement, but we look for can they just get through it in a nice pace, in a good level? That's the kind of thing. Can they deal with the stress of the situation, basically, and can they still keep being happy? Because the next thing that we look for is the happiness of the teacher who we are interviewing. Basically, their personality. Are they quite an open, friendly person? Okay. Because a snappy teacher or an unhappy teacher does not make a good one. Okay. So we really look for personality. We look for, are they smiling? Is it quite a genuine smile, or are they like an air hostess smile like this all the time? Hello, welcome to the aeroplane. No, hopefully they have a sort of genuine warmth about them that would make them open to the students that they're going to teach. And then I would probably look for their pronunciation. If they have some sort of pronunciation issues that aren't coming across very well, then that would be a downer on that. But so can they speak at a nice pace? Can they keep their level of their voice similar as they go? All this kind of thing. Okay. Good. Right. Then final thing I'd look for is, can they get through their lesson plan in the time doing? Have they planned their lesson well? Do they have the knowledge to deliver that lesson well? Okay. That's the final thing that I personally look for. Okay. Before I go on to some of the questions, I'm going to just go with some of these. Before I go on to what questions you'll be asking in the film, I'm just going to go through some of the comments here. Bridget, hello. Don't worry if you're a bit late. You'll be able to watch this again right from the start. Okay. So don't worry about that. Achilles, that's an interesting question about job prospects in Brazil. I had my honeymoon in Brazil, and it's one of my favorite places, okay, in the world to go to. Right. The problem with going to Brazil and working is the visa situation is very difficult in Brazil. You need to, they have something in Brazil where you need to give the job to a Brazilian first, and then they have to be able to prove, the company has to be able to prove that a Brazilian can't do this. Okay. So it's very difficult to get a job in Brazil from outside of Brazil. If you're already in Brazil, it is a bit easier. I would love to go work in Rio. Rio is just an absolutely amazing city, but it's very, very difficult from outside of Brazil. I don't know about your situation, Achilles. Okay, so just get yourself to Brazil if you really want to, although you're taking a bit of a chance that maybe there's no jobs. Brazil is very affected by COVID at the moment. That's the other thing I'd say. Olivia, hello. You've got 2 questions. Are role plays usually included in TEFL interviews? Not quite sure what you mean by role play. If you're talking about the demo lesson, then some companies do demo lessons. Some companies do not do demo lessons. I think at the moment there seems to be a bit of a fashion amongst recruiters to do demo lessons, but a role play, as in like an acting thing, no, I'm not really sure. They don't do anything like that. Okay. Let me just answer your other question, Olivia. Is it likely to get a TEFL job without a university degree? Yes, basically. If you are flexible, and if you do not have your heart set on a certain location in the world, I'm talking about going abroad, because the world is starting to open up a little bit. Okay, so you know there might be jobs abroad being advertised again soon. Some countries allow it, some countries do not. Europe tends to be better for getting TEFL jobs without a degree than Asia, for example. Okay. Hope that's answered your question. Online, if you're going to talk about TEFL jobs without a degree, it's some companies say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to accept people without a degree. Some companies do. You just need to check before you advertise. Okay. But I have plenty of people that I have trained up that now work abroad without a degree. Okay. But you've got to have a certification of some sort. James, would you also advise the same assessment of the interviewer? Well, it depends on you. I think you're talking about whether they're messy, whether everything's messy in a bit. I mean, yes, first impressions are important, but I would say it depends on you how much you need the job. If you need the job quite desperately and they offer you the job, I wouldn't be too worried about them having some sort of messy office, to be honest. I have worked in quite a few language schools which are quite messy in their library and their teacher's room and that kind of thing. Okay. So I would probably not turn down a job just because the recruiter's room is messy. Okay. Olivia, thank you. We've done that one. Anita, does that mean that someone needs a British or American accent? No, it just means they need to be clear. I know plenty of people whose first language is not English that has very good pronunciation. I mean, if I talk in my normal voice, like how I talk to my mates, my pronunciation changes quite a bit. I go a bit London-like and a bit Cockney. That's a bit difficult for some students to understand. But if I talk in my teacher's voice, it's very different and much more clearer. Worth practicing your teacher's voice for the interview. Okay, Anita. Heather, your laptop webcam is broken. Is it acceptable to do an audio only interview? For an online job, I would say probably not. Go out and buy yourself a 15 quid webcam. I would go with the recruiter. The recruiter tends to tell you whether you can do an audio only interview or whether you can do you need to do a webcam. Have the webcam on, basically. Okay. And then Heather, you've got another question about Japan. I lived in Japan for almost 2 years. Absolutely loved it. Yes, Heather, it is possible to do that. Yep. And there are, I think that you do need a degree to work in Japan. That's the only thing I would say. So I don't know about your situation, whether or not about a degree, but yes, I know some people who have no experience and then got a job in Japan. Yeah, that is possible. Okay. You might get paid less to start off with than someone who has got experience, but there we go. Margarita, there's a link that answers your question. Recruiting people without a degree for online teaching. If you look on our TEFL.org website, there is a link to different recruiters that we know, and it tells you there whether you need to have a degree or not, don't need to have a degree. Okay, the questions are coming in. I'm going to just stop in a little bit to talk a bit more about interviews, but let's just keep going because I do love these ones. Thank you very much. Let's go. Haley, hello. What is your opinion of working for companies such as Powerfish Online with no previous teaching experience? I believe the interview process involves a demo class. Yes, I did speak about the demo class probably about 10 minutes ago. My opinion is Powerfish are well known. Go for it. If I don't have any problems with doing a demo class. If they want a demo class, then do a demo class. Be friendly, be nice, be happy. Go from that. Okay. Susan, when doing the demo lesson, does the interviewer take on the role of the student? Yes, very often they do. Or they bus in a couple of students, actual real students, and they put them there and you teach them, or they get another teacher in to do that. Okay, so that does happen. Any tips for a new university? Chloe, hello. Any tips for a new university graduate from the UK home to get a TEFL job in Japan? I speak Japanese, have Japanese, but no teaching experience yet. Thank you. Do you have a TEFL qualification, Chloe? Make sure you get yourself a TEFL qualification is the first thing. And I started working with a company called Westgate in Japan, and I think they love having graduates and people who speak Japanese. Bit of Japanese, so you look up Westgate Corporation Japan, see if you can find something on that. Richard, thank you for answering that. What advice do you have about finding voluntary placements in developing countries? It seems hard to find one that you don't have to pay for. Yeah, Ed, be very wary of people that want lots of money up front to go and volunteer somewhere. Difficult one. Tends to be, I know a couple of people who have gone actually just flown out to the country they want to do and then found jobs when they're over there, but you've got to have a bit of cash behind you. I would try and contact charities online directly instead of going through some sort of placement agency. Heather, great. Margarita, great. Anna, I'm going to keep going down, answer these last two, then go back to the interview stuff. Anna, I need to use writing prompts during my demo lesson. On my camera, my whiteboard appears in a mirror image. How to fix it? Oh, Anna, I'm sorry. I'm not Bill Gates. I have no idea how to fix that. Whenever I have a tech problem, I just Google it. Try like that. I'm sorry. That is not something that's ever... Oh, do you mean your whiteboard behind you? Or do you mean the whiteboard that you use in Zoom or something like that? I don't know. I don't know how to do that. There must be some sort of settings to flip it somewhere. Okay. Last question, Olivia. Hello again. What sort of teaching experience do companies expect, or can you go straight into teaching from doing an online TEFL course? Yes, you can go straight into teaching from doing online TEFL courses. Pick and choose where you want to work a little bit. Don't have your heart set on going to Barcelona, for example, and then be really sad if no schools in Barcelona take you on because everybody wants to go live in Barcelona. Could you go to somewhere a little bit less famous, somewhere like Valencia? I'm talking about Spain, or something like, I don't know, somewhere like, let's talk Bilbao, somewhere like that. If you're talking about Spain, I don't know if you want to go to Spain, you might want to go somewhere else. It happens. Get yourself some teaching experience in the UK. If you're in the UK, go to some local charities, contact some local churches, see if they have ESOL students that they need teaching. Okay. There you go. Charlotte has answered Anna's question. Thank you very much, Charlotte. You can come do my job one day. And Anita, nationality does play a big role. You are correct. With a lot of jobs, you will find that there is a British or an American applicants only, and I do feel sorry for Irish people somewhere like that. Just that it does play a part, and it is something you're going to have to battle, unfortunately. However, there are companies out there that will do it. Keep looking, keep going, keep searching, and you will find someone. Okay, so we've covered about like what the recruiter looks for. Let's talk about some of the questions that I have asked people in the past. Okay, and I'm worried that time is running out a little bit, so I don't want to talk about too much about the answers. But these are so one of the first questions I ask is, what are your strengths and weaknesses as a teacher? The classic interview question. Think about yourself. If you're new to teaching, think about yourself as a person. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And can you somehow get that into a teaching kind of frame? So are you confident talking in front of people? Do you feel like you are a good listener to the students, that kind of thing? Or do you feel like you have a good grammar knowledge, or could you put that as a weakness? And then if you're going to add the weakness, say how you're going to fix the weakness. So for example, my grammar knowledge is bad. That's a bad answer. Don't say that. You say something, my grammar knowledge is bad. That's why I always need to have this book with me about English grammar, and that really helps me. And I'm working on that weakness. Always try and show how you're working on your weakness. So then leading on from that, I might say to someone, how would you introduce past simple to a group of young learners or to a group of adult learners? What are the stages of a lesson you might do to teach the past simple? Or I might go with a vocabulary question. I don't know. How would you explain the word excited to a group of students? Without using translation software, for example, something like that. And then you say, okay, I would use a whiteboard and I would draw on the whiteboard because I've now flipped my video around the correct way. Well done, everyone, for answering those questions. Good tech support. So I would flip around I would look at my whiteboard and I would draw a picture of someone very happy, and I would draw a football match or something like that, just to however you personally would explain excited. So that's some of the questions I would ask. So a question on grammar, a question on vocabulary. Some of the other questions I've asked is, do you have a favorite textbook? And the answer to that one is, I have used so-and-so textbook in the past, or I have seen so-and-so textbook in the past, but I don't have a favorite textbook, because people don't want you to say, oh, my favorite textbook is New English File, and then the school doesn't use New English File. They want to be able to show that you're open to different textbooks. Then I would ask questions along the lines of, what kinds of classes, what kinds of levels, what kinds of ages are you looking to teach? And there it kind of depends on you, how flexible you want to be. The more flexible you are, the more work you'll probably get with either the online school or with a practical school in a building. Okay, because if I have a person who I'm interviewing that says, actually, do you know what? I don't like teaching kids. I'm not a fan of teaching children. I only really teach adults. I might think, okay, great, fine. This person's good with adults, but 60% of my students are children. If that person doesn't like doing that, then that's fine. When I first started teaching, I was very no to teaching children. I did not want to teach children, but actually teaching children are fantastic, and there's a lot more work out there, that kind of thing. Then I would sort of go through some sort of cultural questions, maybe. So, for example, if I was in, let's go with my Azerbaijan example from earlier, I would say something along the lines of, what do you know about Azerbaijani students? And the answer is probably in your head is not much do I know about Azerbaijani students. However, hopefully you would have done some research for something like that. So common one would be, what do you think about Chinese students? What are the problems that Chinese students have when they speak English? How would you fix some of those problems that they have? Okay, so sort of cultural questions that are unique to the students that I have as a recruiter. Okay, little things like, what do you know about our company? Can you tell me more about what do you think our company is about? Can you tell us about our typical students in our company? Something like that. Okay. Those are the sort of questions. If you've got some questions about the interview and the type of questions someone will ask, please put them in there. Okay, let's just keep going with that. Okay, let me just catch up on some of the questions. James, hello. I think did you ask one earlier? I think you did. James, hi Carl, what would we expect? And then you put me some lovely emojis. Thank you, that has cheered me up. Although I was quite happy in the first place. On the first day at school, what do you mean? As in, when you get there, are you talking about practically what is the first thing that will happen? Well, very often when you first go work for a school somewhere abroad, you are meant to do level testing the first day, and that means doing some sort of placement test. But if it's your very first class, then very often there is something like how to get to know the students, get to know their names, have some fun in the first class. Depends if it's a business English class or an exam class or something like that. But generally, the very first day tends to be quite relaxed, just sort of an introduction to you, play some games, know the names of the students, that kind of thing. Okay. I hope that's answered your question, James. Alex, hello. I love your surname. Suswillow. Hello. How beneficial is it to do the combined TEFL courses with the 20 to 30 hours face-to-face contact time as opposed to 120-hour online course? Right. Very beneficial, I think, is the short answer to that. And the reason being is because in the practical face-to-face contact course that you would do with someone like me in Belfast or wherever it is around the world that you're doing it, you would actually stand up and you would actually teach to a group. Okay. And then that is some sort of experience that you can get into your interview. It's something that you can get into your CV that you might send. It would show the recruiters that you're confident to stand up and have a go, and you're not too scared of doing that kind of thing, because you would only pass if you could stand up and actually do it. Okay, so I really think it's worth doing that. Again, Alex, if you're recruiting and there's two people, one who has done the weekend course, one who hasn't done the weekend course, who are you going to give the job to? I think for me, the most beneficial thing that I hear from the people I train is the ability to ask questions to someone like me about absolutely anything at all to do with TEFL, grammar, that kind of thing when you're doing it. Okay. All right. I hope that answers your questions. Habib, lovely chat there about how to create one's energy. I really like it. I might steal that quote. Thank you very much. Killies, can online teaching be done with just an iPhone? Probably not. In fact, I would say in 99.9% of the jobs that I have seen online, they expect you to have a computer and they expect you to be able to use a web browser within a computer because you might need to do things like share a screen. Also, if you're teaching, quite often you would need to stand up when you teach like this, and I can't get my webcam high enough. You might need to stand up and teach, and it'd be very difficult to do that with a phone. Okay, so very often they want you to have some sort of set desktop like that. Okay, Chloe, don't be sorry for quick questions. We like quick questions. Most jobs in China, in Beijing, Shanghai, and in the southwest of China. Do you know if TEFL has jobs in northern areas? I've worked in China quite a bit, but my knowledge of provinces is not great. I'm sorry. I would say, though, that I don't think it's necessarily true. I mean, Beijing is a huge city. Shanghai is a huge city. So, of course, there's going to be lots of jobs there and lots in the southwest of China. Sorry, my camera's going out of focus. Something I should have checked before. I would say quite often recruiters, they recruit for China as a whole. And you might be able to ask then if they've got some specialized. Every city I've ever been to in China has had a language school of some sort to learn English. Okay, so I'm sure there are jobs out there. Okay. I think it's worth, if you are looking to go out to Asia, I think it's worth starting to look at the moment. Okay, I think it does depend on you and how sort of brave you are in the current situation, but there might be jobs out there at the moment, or they're starting to recruit people because a lot of teachers that were there before have left. Okay. Lauren, hello. Do I know of any TEFL hiring companies for placements in Spain and Italy? First of all, Lauren, look on our jobs website. Okay. I think that will list any by then. Look on TEFL. Look on eslcafe.com. See if there's anything in Spain. I would Google, if you have a certain place in Spain or Italy you want to go to, I would Google language schools that are out there and see if they are open at the moment, and contact them and say, hello, I'm looking to go out there. Would you have work for me if I go out there? Okay. There are definitely jobs out there. Okay. Right. Let's just answer a few more questions, then I'll just go to the final bit of the interview stuff. Hello, James again. Whom would a new TEFL teacher be answerable to? Probably the director of studies, first of all. Depends on the size of the school. The director of the studies should have someone with quite a lot of experience or good level of qualifications in TEFL. And also, or if it's quite a big school with lots of teachers, you might be answerable to a teacher who's been there a longer time. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. Sometimes they're answerable to the owners, sometimes, but sometimes the owner is also the director of studies. Lily, hello. Oh, long question. I don't know if it'll fit in our little screen there, but we'll try, shall we? I have a degree in 3 languages. Wow. Spain for 5 years, 120-hour course, teach English, do it officially. Do you think you'll be able to use the same ideas to teach Spanish classes? Yes, for sure. Basically, how you teach a language is similar. Okay. The steps involved in teaching a grammar point, going from I've forgotten how to from the introducing the grammar point through to the free practice in sort of the narrow part of the grammar to the general part of the grammar. Sorry, brain freeze then. Works for any language that you want to teach, the same sort of structure. Okay, good. Oh, Habib, you answered that, I think. Well done. Okay, Lucy, thank you very much about Powerfish. That's good to know. I'm an early India teacher, want to apply in Dubai, TEFL or IELTS, please suggest. Venus, I'm really not quite sure what you mean by that. I'm really sorry. Do you mean to take that? I don't know your question, what you mean, because they're qualifications take. Gemma, hello. For online teaching, do you recommend teaching with 2 separate screens, one for the video and the other for your lesson? Yeah, if you can, for sure. I've got 2 screens. That's why I'm keep looking over there at my notes. Definitely, if you can do that, I think it helps you for sure. Depends on your money. I wouldn't say it's a necessary thing that you definitely have to do, but I think it does help me. Yeah, or just have some notes written down here that you can look at. Okay, that's something as well in the interviews. I would sometimes have a bit of notes, have your piece of paper down here, okay, and just see if you can answer that. Okay, just have a little quick look down. If you're doing a Skype interview, why not? Right. Okay, good. Let know. Where was I up to in the interview stuff? Right. Okay. If you have to do it, one more thing I want to say: if you're going to do some sort of demo lesson over the online medium before you can get the job, the number one thing to be aware of is to involve the person on the other side of the screen, whether that is the interviewer trying to be a student or whether they get other students that come in. Okay. Good teachers learn how to be quiet and learn from very early on to get the students talking. And it's not a lecture. It's not something like this where you've got one person telling you lots of things. It's a language lesson. So the student has to speak in it. Okay. So that's the number one rule for the demo lesson, I would say, in terms of the teaching methodology, is make sure that the student or students on the other side of it are speaking. Okay. So then, you might have to ask a question at the end. Some of the questions that I like hearing from possible teachers are things like, can you tell me more about your syllabus? Can you tell me more about your curriculum? Fine. I like it when teachers say something like, how are your students level tested? I think that's a really good one. Ask about the materials. Where do the company get the materials from, or are we expected to make our own materials? That kind of thing. I think those are quite nice questions. Or again, this is something that you could have ready at the bottom of the camera, out of the way of the recruiter, just so you've got your questions prepared. Okay, good. Right. So then you've done your interview, and then the final thing is what happens after the interview. Okay. Now, I remember when I first started, I did quite a bad job of my very first interview, and I thought I hadn't got the job. But what I actually did was I emailed the recruiter afterwards and said that I had made a mistake in this part of the interview, and I think it should have been more like this kind of thing. And I'm sorry, nerves got in the way, that kind of thing. And you know what? I actually got that job, and the recruiter told me they really liked the idea that I could be self-aware of how I was. So if you do make a mistake in the interview or in the demo lesson, don't be afraid to tell the recruiter, look, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there, or something like that. Okay. Yeah, and then the next, I also quite like, although some people might think you're sucking up or you're trying to just curry favor, but I think that I quite like it when people email me saying, thank you for the interview, thank you for your time. I think it's quite nice. I also quite like it sometimes when people say, oh, I forgot to ask this question, but here, please let me email it to you, like that. So I personally like that. Okay. How long to wait? Right. Now, at the moment, and there's a question there from Faisal, which is kind of linked into this. At the moment, a lot of recruiters are quite overwhelmed with people applying for the online jobs. And I have seen people on Facebook complaining that they haven't got an answer to the interview within 24 hours. And, you know, recruiters are busy. Yeah, there are lots and lots of people applying for jobs at the moment, but also there are lots and lots of schools that have gone online. But in parts of Asia, and Asia is the biggest market, those classrooms are starting to go back into being physical. Okay. You know, so the market is for online, I think, is definitely still there. But it might be very slowly starting to move back into physical classrooms. And you have to be a bit aware of that at the moment. And just be aware that you are not the only person applying to this online school at the moment. There are lots. Take your what you're going to have to wait. Okay, you're probably not going to get an answer with 24 within 24 hours. Okay, so and it could be up to 2 weeks. Who knows how long it's taken to do that. Okay, so just do that. So basically, I can't really give you a time frame. All I can say is be patient, and probably if after a couple of weeks you've not heard back from them, you probably haven't got the job. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as we say in the UK. Apply to multiple people for sure. Okay, because you're probably going to get part-time hours when you start off. Some schools do give you full-time from the start, but generally they give you part-time. Why not do 2 different companies for part-time hours? Okay. Also, teachers letting down recruiters is quite a big thing. You'd be so surprised the amount of teachers that accept a job to start in 2 weeks and then they don't do it. Okay, they don't take it up because something else has happened or something better has come along. Okay, I'm not saying it's a good idea to just go around with all the recruiters around the world saying, oh, thank you for the job, but actually I don't want it after I've had the interview and after you've offered it to me, to do that lots and lots, but it does happen. Okay, I hope I've answered the post-interview side of things. Couple more questions and then we might be my cup of tea time. James, hello. Where do we fit in? Oh, James, you really care about the how you fit into the management structure. These are good questions. I've not really had many questions like this. Thank you. Where do we fit in on embarking with a strange team of teachers? Oh, a strange team of teachers. I'm not right. A bit more information there about what you mean about strange would be nice. James, it depends on the job you've applied for. You will see, if you've got lots of experience and you've got good qualifications, you will see jobs for senior teachers or assistant directors of studies, this kind of thing. And then, of course, you would be in charge of some other teachers. But if not, all other teachers, if you're all on a teacher level, you're all seen as equal within the group, whether that is teachers that are recruited locally or whether that is teachers that have become externally from another country. Online, you don't really meet other teachers, so that's fine. I mean, it's like any sort of job, you know. There's levels of hierarchy within an office. There's levels of hierarchy within a school. Okay. Does that answer your question, James? Please reply if I haven't, because it was an interesting one. Hello, Rhiannon. Do you always have online interviews or are person-to-person interviews also an option within the area? Definitely person-to-person is an option within the area. When I lived in Japan, I went for I had the first interview externally through Skype, and then once I was there and I finished that first contract, I then did lots and lots of face-to-face interviews in the same room where I had to wear a nice suit, that kind of, well, nice suit is different. I had to wear a suit and had to do interviews within the office like that. Okay, so they are definitely an option for wherever you're going in the world. Recruiters tend to like people that are already in their country. Okay, they like to have people. It's much better to employ someone that's, if you're in Tokyo and you are recruiting for people for your school in Tokyo, it's much better to interview someone that's already in Tokyo, because number one, for a recruiter, it's cheaper because you quite often don't need to have to pay for someone's flights, or you don't need to pay for someone's visa costs, accommodation, that kind of thing. And also, if it's someone from abroad, maybe they might drop out. Okay, something like that. So recruiters tend to like people that are already there. But I'm not suggesting you should fly over there and then you're more likely to get a job, because it depends on your financial situation. It will cost you a few quid to do that. Charlotte, do you mean foreign or from different countries? I'm not quite perhaps I've lost my train of thought on my coherence and cohesion, Charlotte. Foreign or from different countries? I'm not quite sure what you mean there, Charlotte. I'm really sorry. Have I missed the question scrolling up from you, Charlotte? I don't think so. Oh, please put more information, Charlotte, before I go. Richard, thank you, James. That's nice. I'm going to go have a nice cup of tea, maybe something a bit stronger. It's Friday. Richard, hello. Is it true about the suits when teaching in Japan, or is that just offices? Right. If you're in the school, in the language school, very often you need to have a shirt and some nice trousers if you're a bloke. If you're going to offices to work, which is a big part of teaching in Japan, you go actually to that office and you actually teach in that office, the workers' office, then you definitely 100% need to look smart. Okay. Whether you need to wear a tie, I'm not so sure, but you definitely need to have a shirt, some nice work trousers, and probably some sort of suit jacket. Okay. But when you're actually in a school, language school, you could, do you know what I'd say in Japan? Yeah, you pretty much as a bloke got to be quite formal. Okay. Charlotte, I'm sorry. Thank you very much for doing that. Don't worry. That was my fault, not your fault. Okay. If there's no more questions, oh wait, there's one more. Rhiannon, do some companies pay for your flights accommodation if you're looking to relocate to a different country? Yes, they do. Some companies do that, but they expect quite a lot from you if they're going to do that. So for example, they might withhold your first month's wages or your last month's wages of a 12-month contract to pay for that. You've just got to be really sure that you have to be really sure that you have got it written down clearly what it's going to be, what it's going to be. Some companies do that. Depends on the country. Very often from Europe to Asia, they'll do it. From the UK to Spain, they don't do it. Okay. Lauren, I'm sure it's not a silly question. Can I just ask? You can just ask. That's very formal and friendly of you. How do you avoid taking the same TEFL course twice? Never been asked this one though, Lauren. I have a 120-hour certificate. I'm worried that many companies offer the same course. Well, if you've already got a 120-hour TEFL certificate and that is accredited by some good, look for a range of accreditations like TEFL Org's 120-hour courses have. Look for a range of accreditations. Don't just look for one accreditation, because it's very easy for me to make a TEFL course. Well, it's not very easy, but I could make a TEFL course and then I could also make an accreditation company myself. Look for a range of accreditations and then you'll be able to get from that. Okay. Many companies offer the same course. Not all TEFL courses are the same. That is just not true. Oh, Richard, that's so kind of you saying I was brilliant. I know. No problem, Lily. Thank you, Lauren. It wasn't. Last question. Sherry Shield. I love that name. Does Canada have a market for TEFL teachers with no experience? As in to go and teach in Canada? I would say yes. They do. Any country, like in the UK, there are jobs for people to teach TEFL in the UK. There are jobs for people to teach TEFL in America, in Australia, in Canada, any other English-speaking countries I've missed. Big one, New Zealand, Ireland. Okay. If it's English, there are jobs there for the people. However, there tends to not be jobs for people abroad to move to Canada or abroad to move to the UK. There are jobs for people that are already in that country. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to have some water. Please join in. If you came into the join into the next webinars, whoever that is that's doing them, whether it's me or someone else. I've really enjoyed doing it this Friday lunchtime. And please message us if you have any questions about any of the courses. I have done other videos. If you look back on the Facebook page to the past, you'll see, scroll down, you'll see some other videos that I've done where I talk a lot more about online teaching. And yeah, if you've got any ideas for some sort of webinar that you'd like us to say, please say hello. Please say any ideas that you have. We love hearing from you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay. Cheers. Have a good day. Look after yourself. Bye.